Depression is really weird because it isn't always exactly the same. I feel like when I was younger, the way I experienced depression versus how it's kind of changed into my adulthood has just like changed a lot. And I guess my whole thought process about mental illness in general has kind of changed slightly. When I was a kid and I was experiencing certain like mental health issues, I felt like I didn't have the proper terminology. I didn't even have an understanding of what I was experiencing. When I became a teenager, I actually understood like what I was going through, but I still didn't have any healthy coping mechanisms to deal with it. The only healthy coping mechanism that I really had was that I would journal, and even then, there were some times when I felt so depressed I like couldn't even do that. Now that I'm in adulthood and I've worked like regular jobs and I have to take care of myself, I don't know, depression's weird because like there were some times where I was like so depressed and I literally would do nothing the entire day. But like if I had work at 3 p.m., guess what? My ass was gonna get up and go to work. Like I might have felt like I was too depressed to get up and take care of myself, but somehow I would still get up and go to work because otherwise I'd be homeless. Like if I don't go to work, I have nothing. When I was going through that, I would think about it and I was like, that's so strange that somehow I can convince myself to get up and go to work because I have to, and in my head I feel like I don't have a choice, versus if I'm feeling too depressed to like get up and eat something or to take care of myself properly, all of a sudden it's like I don't have any motivation. I feel like I can't do it. I just want to stay in bed for 15 hours. And that's really where my kind of thought process around like depression and mental health has slightly changed as I've gotten older. And I'm just talking about myself, okay? Everyone has completely different experiences and I am not a licensed therapist, so I'm talking about me. I don't know about y'all, I'm talking about me. I'm talking about me, okay? So that's all I gotta say. So I recently quit my job because I hated every aspect of the job. Every day having to go there started to become so excruciating. So I quit and I left. When I first quit my job, I actually didn't feel that depressed. I felt like the normal, I guess, amount of depressed that I normally would feel, but I didn't feel especially depressed. I didn't feel especially bad. For the most part, I felt fine. It was nice to finally get a break and just focus on things that I enjoy, but a few days out of every week, I would just feel so depressed and so like just don't want to get out of bed for the entire day and do nothing. And normally, whenever I feel that way, I feel like it'll last at least a few days at a time. But during this like era of depression that I was dealing with, I was actually putting in a lot of effort to like improve my life. Like I started exercising and trying to take better care of myself, trying to keep my atmosphere cleaner and trying to use less social media, but instead like reading more books and, making art, doing things that I enjoy. And like I know like it's stereotypical to say like stuff like that improves your mental health, but like I'm shook. Okay, I'm a little shook. It's just weird because when I was like a teenager growing up, I think it felt so like inevitable. Like it felt like regardless of what I do, I'm still gonna feel like shit. Regardless of how I react or what I try, I'm still gonna feel awful. And like, I don't know. Maybe, I'm not saying that like you can cure your depression by like exercising because I don't think that's necessarily true. But maybe we do have more control over our mental health than we think. Like, even if you've had mental health issues your entire life, like I feel like I've always been struggling. I've struggled with my mental health for as long as I can remember. Like outside of medication, maybe literally putting in effort to change your lifestyle can help. I guess really the problem is that it's hard to change your lifestyle when you're in that mindset. I think for me, reading a lot of books that are very like motivating really helps, as well as trying to keep like a vision in your head of what you want. So for me, I've been practicing the 12-week year. So every week is pretty much like a new start or a new beginning. And oh my gosh, that has helped my mental health so much because as soon as it hits Sunday, I'm like, it doesn't matter last week. It doesn't matter what happened 2 weeks ago. It doesn't matter if I felt horrible yesterday, because it's a new week and I get to try again and pick myself back up and start over. And in the past with my mental health, if I was struggling, I would just stay in that like funk. But there was a day where I just woke up and I just felt really, really depressed. And I had been doing so well the few days before, and then all of a sudden I just felt awful. I just stayed like not even sick, but I just mentally just felt very depressed. I guess that would be the right word to use. So I just was like laying in bed all day pretty much, and then I was like, you know what? I don't want to just lay in bed. I should try to do something else that'll make me feel slightly better, and that's something I'll have fun doing. Because when I'm laying in bed depressed trying to fucking, look at social media, it just makes me feel worse. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go and I'm gonna play video games. I was like, that'll make me feel maybe a little bit better and it'll get me out of bed. So I did that and I started playing video games. And then when I got done playing video games for like X amount of time, I started to walk back to my bed and I was like, what if I just don't get in bed? I was like, wait, what if I just don't do that? What if I literally like do something else? And I think I started to clean my bathroom instead. And I swear to God, it was like, I felt like I hit the jackpot. I felt like I won the lottery. Like I just never experienced feeling like okay, I guess. Like if I'm in like a very depressed state, normally I just stay there. But I was like, oh my God, if I like do positive things, it kind of helps. And I mean, this isn't every time. Like the other day I felt really depressed and I stayed that way the entire day. I was not able to get myself out of it. But the fact that I was able to get myself out of it at all on that one day, that was like mind-blowing, because I don't know, I've never been able to do that before. The moral of the story is that if you've had a bunch of mental health problems for your entire life, or for years, even if it's just been for like the past few years, or even the past few months, it is possible to live a life where you feel less bad. Like, maybe you don't have to feel complete and utter misery 24/7. Maybe it's possible for things to get better. And I recently had moved and had like a whole lifestyle change. And in my head, I thought that as soon as I moved, it would like cure or at least help my mental illnesses a lot. And it did slightly help with like anxiety and stuff, but I was surprised how I still felt pretty awful even after moving. And like the only thing that genuinely has made me feel better at all, like even outside of like trying to go to therapy and stuff like that, the only thing that's actually making me feel better is literally properly taking care of myself and doing things that make me happy. That's literally the only things that are making me feel better. So if you have a day when you're feeling really depressed, maybe if you get up and you clean your bathroom sink, or if you get up and you make a meal, or even if you lay in bed and read a book. I mean, it's surprisingly, they're not kidding when they say it helps. They're actually serious, and I didn't know that. Yeah, so sometimes if I'm really depressed, I'll just lay down in the bed with my book next to me, or I'll read a book on my iPad. And whenever I feel burnt out from social media and I feel like my brain is gonna fall out of my head, I can stop what I'm doing and be like, you know what, this is not the life I want for myself. When I think of myself 2 years from now, I do not want to continue living my life like this. I'll stop what I'm doing and I'll read my book, and it makes me feel better. And I know some people watching this are like, girl, like duh, of course taking care of yourself is gonna make you feel better, versus if you don't. But, I feel like taking care of myself and doing things that make me feel happy has genuinely made me feel less depressed and less hopeless. Like with depression, it just feels like I'm stuck in this like ball of like misery and helplessness and hopelessness. And whenever I'm like putting effort to improve my life, I'm like, you know what, I'm actually doing all right. Things maybe aren't that bad. So yeah, apparently if you put an effort to take care of yourself, your life might improve. So, I mean, I guess I'll talk a little bit about some of the books that I've read that have helped me. There's a ton of different books written by therapists and psychologists and stuff like that on different topics. So like PTSD, depression, abuse, codependency, limerence, like whatever specific things that you're going through. I promise you there's a book about it, and it might not sound like that big of a deal, but reading a book about it genuinely helps a lot. At least for me it has. So whatever specific things that you're going through, just reading about it helps. And I mean, I've read like articles and stuff about things that, you know, have affected me in the past. But like sitting down and reading like a whole book about it, yeah, that does something. That does something. Also, the book, The 12-Week Year, has helped me a lot. There are a million different self-help books, so I've read of my fair share of self-help books, and The 12-Week Year is the only self-help book that's actually helped me. It actually showed me how to execute. So, for example, if you haven't clean your rug, maybe you need to vacuum your rug, you haven't done that in a while. I feel like the 12-week year really shows you how to execute. You know, instead of just being like, oh, I really want to do this, or just doing it sometimes, or feeling like you don't have the motivation, or feeling too depressed to do it. I feel like in the 12-week year, it literally, in my brain, made me learn how to execute. I don't know how else to describe it. If you genuinely don't want to read that book, if you don't like reading, there's a ton of like YouTube videos probably that talk about the book, or probably articles that you can read that are shorter. But I recommend just reading the actual book. I mean, it helped me, so it might make you feel a little bit better as well. So those types of books genuinely helped me, and that's all I have to say for this video. If you have similar experiences, please tell me in the comment section. Or even if you like think I'm wrong. Obviously, I know there's a difference between feeling depressed and having depression, but I mean, I've been struggling with this my entire life, and I'm actually starting to feel better, surprisingly, because I didn't even know that was possible. So I'm hoping this video can maybe help someone, or somebody will find it relatable. And that's all I have to say. Bye.